How's it going, everyone? So this is episode 6 of DC Encyclopedia, or DC Character Histories, however you've been remembering it. And finally, this is now releasing, starting now, every single Wednesday. So today's episode is all about the character of Desaad. Now, before we get into the video, I just want to remind everyone if you could please drop a like and consider at least subscribing, because if you do like my content and you like these types of videos, it's only going to keep coming, and I have tons of other plans in mind as well. But now, getting into the video. Desaad is Darkseid's right-hand man and the master torturer of Apocalypse. Being a new god such as Darkseid and other characters, Desaad is a very powerful and immortal being. In the older comics and Desaad's first appearance, he is portrayed as a human, but in new representations, he's an alien. Many will recognize this character from Zack Snyder's Justice League, where he acted as the middleman between Steppenwolf and Darkseid. So now let's take a look at some of his comic book history. But of course, before we do that, let's get into some of his character data. So the first debut of Desaad was in a comic book called The Forever People, Volume 1, Issue number 2, and that came out in April of 1971. His base of operations, where he's usually located, is Apocalypse. He is 5'11". He weighs 152 pounds. His powers and abilities are new god physiology, so pretty much, in a lot of ways, everything. Not as much as some other gods, he is kind of on the weaker side of the gods, but stuff like immortality, superhuman capabilities, illusionary appearances, mental influence, gains power from other people's pain, and a couple of other things. His allies are Darkseid and Steppenwolf, and his enemies are characters like Power Girl, Huntress, Superman, Desaad Superman, which is the Earth 2 Superman, and Batman of Earth 2. Alright, so Desaad's history. He was born on New Genesis, which is the opposite world of the terror and hellfire that Apocalypse is. Desaad was corrupted by Darkseid. Darkseid convinced a young Desaad that his pet cat had killed his pet bird. So to show punishment, Desaad buried his cat alive. He would soon find out that his pet bird returned to him safe and sound. After the horrible treatment he just incurred onto his cat, Desaad entered into a rage and killed his pet bird as well. After this, Desaad left for Apocalypse to become a sadistic leader alongside his master Darkseid. Desaad is naturally treacherous, but he's also very cowardly. When Desaad arrived to Apocalypse, he was threatened by Darkseid's mother, the wicked Queen Hegra. Darkseid was to marry a woman, his beloved Princess Sully. She was an apocalyptian scientist and sorceress. Hegra wanted that woman poisoned by Desaad so that Darkseid would have to marry another woman, the concubine Tigra. Hegra saw Tigra more fit to bear a child for Darkseid than Sully. When Darkseid learned of this, he tasked Desaad with poisoning his mother Hegra in return as revenge. After Desaad did this, he forever became Darkseid's henchman. Desaad would never oppose Darkseid due to how much fear he has for him. Even though he has some impressive sorcerer abilities, Darkseid could defeat 1,000 Desaads in a second. In fact, Desaad is so afraid of Darkseid that Desaad has been killed by Darkseid countless times every time he fails a task that has been placed on him. Since Desaad is vital to Darkseid's operations, though, he revives Desaad every time, stating, "This is the last time," but we all know that's not the case. Now, remember that group called the Intergang from the ISIS video I dropped a couple days ago? If you haven't seen it, you should go check it out. Well, as I explained, the Intergang on the surface simply looked like a high-functioning crime organization, but their true nature was only known to certain members, and that was to find the anti-life equation for Darkseid, who believed it was somewhere on Earth. During the Intergang search for the ALE, the anti-life equation, I'm just calling it ALE, Desaad would pose as Darkseid in transmissions to make sure the Intergang kept operating to speed. Although, whereas Darkseid wanted results in finding the ALE, Desaad liked using the Inner Gang to simply cause terror and suffering. Desaad was also given the task to obtain the High Father's staff from a place called the Source Wall. And simply put, the Source Wall is found in space and is the source of all life in the universe. It is responsible for the creation of all gods in the universe as well. The old gods, the new gods, the Greek gods, the Norse gods, and any type of god or deity in existence or once in existence. The wall itself is made up of statues of gods who have attempted to cross the wall and have failed, so their fate is now sealed as a defending statue of the wall. Darkseid's power at one point was waning, and he needed a recovery of his strength and abilities. Even though Desaad is technically a new god, he was not powerful enough to make it past the Source Wall alone. So Desaad managed to brainwash Superman, who was powerful enough and frankly a god in his own right, to get Desaad over the Source Wall. Desaad succeeded and recovered the High Father staff for Darkseid, although Desaad decided to betray Darkseid and use the staff on himself. Unfortunately, Desaad could not handle the power, and Darkseid siphoned the energy from Desaad. Now, in the new continuities, Desaad was shown to be much more powerful and a lot less cowardly than he was before. Some new powers were given to him, like teleportation, telepathy, and the ability to absorb energy. During the New 52 continuity, Darkseid and Steppenwolf attempted to conquer our dimensional neighbors, Earth 2. Superman on Earth 2, who was Val-Zod, not Kal-El, was temporarily defeated. He was tortured and steadied by Desaad, who had a plan to clone DNA from Superman to create even more powerful parademons, which have been seen in Zack Snyder's Justice League and are just the classical army used by Darkseid. That plan ultimately failed when Superman regained his power and Darkseid's invasion ended up failing. Desaad was left behind on Earth 2, where he decided to use his advanced technology and mind control powers to cause terror and despair. Mr. Terrific, a hero with genius-level intellect and quantum traveling technology, got his identity stolen by Desaad on Earth 2. In this new continuity, Desaad was absolutely powerful enough to take on some really top-end heroes or top-end strength type characters. So after taking Mr. Terrific's identity, he had multiple conflicts with his girlfriend, which on this Earth was Power Girl. And Power Girl is essentially Earth 2's Supergirl. And also Huntress, known as Helena Wayne, which is Bruce Wayne's daughter on Earth 2. After trying to find his way back to Apokolips, Desaad was summoned by Darkseid and learned that he was coming back to invade Earth 2 once again. Desaad then created a secret base and prepared for Darkseid's arrival. Desaad ended up capturing Huntress and turned her into a Fury called Famine, which helped Desaad and Darkseid finally conquer Earth 2. So, into the Elseworlds type stories, there have actually been a lot of different interpretations of Desaad in different Earths and different multiverses, but generally he tends to be very similar to the right-hand man or henchman to Darkseid that he always has been. But one really cool interpretation of him was on Earth 496, otherwise known as the Amalgam Universe. This is when DC and Marvel had a huge crossover event in 1996, and both companies attempted to merge DC and Marvel characters into new characters. Just like every other character in DC and Marvel in this comic book series, Desaad and Loki from the Marvel Universe merged together and became Desaad. With Desaad being a new god and Loki being an Asgardian, they became a new Asgardian. Mixing their powers with Loki's mischief and Desaad's torturous nature, they were not a villain to look down on. So that's pretty much it for Desaad. I know this video is probably going to be one of the shorter ones out of all the other ones, and I've looked at some of the other stories that Desaad is involved in, and honestly, he's just kind of a chump in a lot of them. He is indeed quite the coward. He pretty much gets into conflicts with some other characters, and it results in a very quick battle and him fleeing and essentially escaping pretty much every single one of these stories. The new continuity Desaad is definitely a much cooler and much stronger villain, especially the Desaad you see in Zack Snyder's Justice League cut. You definitely get the sensation that he is more than what you actually see on screen. In general, in the new continuity, there definitely needs to be given some credit to Desaad for helping conquer Earth 2. But anyways guys, that is it for this DC character history video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and once again, drop a like and subscribe if you like this content and you're looking for more, because I always got more coming on the way. And like usual, until next time, I will talk to you all very soon.